Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and today we're checking out a really cool old vintage guitar. This is a 1978 Yamaki AY40D, and yeah, these old Yamakis are amazing guitars and you can usually find them for not much money. So let's go over why you probably need one. So yeah, I picked this one up locally on a trade. Yamakis, they're quite a few around in Canada, especially where I live, which is Alberta, like Edmonton area. I've seen a lot of these come up, and it seems to be not so the case so much in the U.S. or Europe. They're kind of more rare there. I think maybe there were some distributors distributing to Canada a lot in the 70s and 80s and 60s, so there's quite a few of these around in Canada. And they usually are selling for great prices. So I always like to pick them up because I've played a lot of them and they're all usually amazing sounding guitars and super high quality. So yeah, here it is. This thing is a 1978 Yamaki AY40D. And this thing's in really, really nice shape. If you're not familiar with Yamaki, basically they are really high quality Martin clones that came out in the 60s and 70s, and they're just exceptionally well made, with really high-end materials and solid woods, usually Brazilian fingerboards and backs, because a lot of the Japanese companies at this time were using Brazilian rosewood in all of their guitars. And they didn't even call it Brazilian rosewood, they just called it rosewood because that's just what everybody was using in Japan at the time. So now, Brazilian rosewood's really sought after, commands really high prices, especially on Gibsons. Yeah, it's a really great wood that has a nice tight grain pattern. It's really good for fingerboards. And people really like that. So this Yamaki Y line was like their super high-end versions of their models at this time. And it's just got a lot of really super premium components and specs on here. So this is an Ismatsu top, which is like a Japanese spruce. It's a really nice looking top. Again, solid wood. And it's got a super nice herringbone all the way around the guitar, which is very gorgeous. And there's our Brazilian rosewood bridge. See how it's like dark with red streaks there. Looking good. And it's got that kind of a multicolor pickguard on there, which suits the guitar very well. It's got bone saddles, ebony bridge pins, and Brazilian rosewood fingerboard. The neck is bound. The inlays are really cool. They're kind of these wooden triangle inlays that look cool. And then we've got a bone nut. And there's our headstock, which also has the mahogany veneer on there. And there's our Yamaki & Co. logo. Very reminiscent of the Martin design at the time. And one flaw in this guitar is on the headstock, the finish is clouded a little bit. I did a little research on the internet, and this is a nitro finish that they used on these guitars. However, their nitro finish has to be applied in a very high humidity environment, and sometimes if the humidity wasn't quite right, they would cloud over time. This has been the case on a few Yamakis I've tried. Sometimes the whole thing is cloudy, sometimes it's just a few spots, but that's just that nitro not quite curing properly due to the humidity. And here's a look at the back. So this is a mahogany back. Really nice grain on this mahogany. And we've got more herringbone on our center seam thing there. And this is kind of cool. So this is the logo for Dion. So Dion is the company that makes Yamaki. And so this guitar is in 1978. So in the early 80s, they actually switched the name of Yamaki to Dion and used this symbol. So this is kind of a cool thing. You don't really see this symbol on Yamaki. So this is kind of the transitional years when they were moving over to Dion, and it's kind of cool to see that logo there. Here's a look at our mahogany neck. It's a thicker, kind of a chunky neck. It sort of feels like it has a soft V profile. We'll check the profile with the gauge there. We've got our nice triangle volute there. And these guitars, the one criticism I have is they usually come with really terrible, cheap tuners. The previous owner has upgraded the tuners to some nice made in Germany Schaller machine heads, and it looks like they just kept the same screw holes, so they used tuners that had the same screw holes as the original, so they didn't have to do any extra screw holes. So that's a nice upgrade, and no new holes were added. And this guitar also came with a K&K Mini pickup installed. That's probably my favorite acoustic pickup. I have that on the acoustic that I built as well, and I really like it. And right there is where you just plug in your guitar, and it's a passive system. So all of the control and tones you'd have to do on your amplifier. I do have this, which I use with my other one, which is the K&K Sound Pure Preamp, so you can adjust your volume and your tones with this thing, and it's kind of a booster of the signal as well. It works really well. So yeah, I played this thing. It sounds really amazing, and yeah, I'm happy to have picked it up. Let's go ahead and get it on the bench, and we'll get some specs. In at just over 4.5 pounds, or 2.84 kilograms. So yeah, these designs in the 60s and 70s were really going after Martin, and you know, I think they really are close in terms of quality for sure. Every Yamaki I've played has just been really, really nice. Let's check out the neck profile. So yeah, here's a look at the neck profile. So you can see it's kind of got like a soft V there, so a little bit less shoulders, a little pointier on the top there. And then it kind of flattens out a little bit by the 12th, but it's still a little bit V-like there. So yeah, it's kind of a unique profile. I think the older Martins used to have this similar one, and it feels really good though. It's got a 25.5-inch scale, and it's got a 9.5 fretboard radius. So the nuts on these guitars are pretty cool. They kind of flare out at an angle to match the angle of the headstock. This one appears to have been replaced. However, it was done really well. It might be factory. It's definitely bone though, so okay, let's check the width at the nut here. So it's a 1.72 or a 43.87 millimeters. And then at the 12th fret, that increases to a 2.14 inches or a 54.37 millimeters. Neck depth at the 1st fret is a 0.88 inches or 22.5 millimeters. And then at the 12th fret, 12th fret's turning into the heel, so we're going to take it from the 11th. That is a 1.039 inches or a 26.39 millimeters. Quick look at the condition of this guitar. So yeah, this guitar's in really, really nice shape. There's a little bit of that clouding on the finish on the headstock like I mentioned before, and our Martin style logo there, Yamaki & Co. And there's a look at our nut. Like I said, it may be replaced, but it's a nice, well-cut bone nut. And I checked the action at the 1st fret, and it's really nice too. So it's filed exactly where it needs to be as well, and it's nicely fitted too. So it could very well be the original, or it might have been replaced. I'm just not 100% sure on the glue lines on the side there, if that would be original or not. Either way, it works really nicely. And here's a look at the fingerboard. That nice dark, streaky, reddish Brazilian. And our frets are in really great shape. There's no divots or wear. They look, yeah, they look really good shape. Tons of life left. And there's a look at our little triangle inlays there. And the neck is bound, and there's no fret sprout at all. And yeah, just let's have a look at our top. Again, I really like that style of pickguard. Looks great on our herringbone rosette there. The only thing I could find on the top is there's one little line here. See if I can get it on camera. And it might have been a surface gloss crack there that's been touched up. I got it like that, but you can definitely feel there's like a little bit of a line there. It sits proud, so it's really hard to see, but someone might have touched up a little gloss crack there. But you can only see it in like light situations, and there's no other cracks or anything on this guitar, which is great for, you know, an older guitar like this, 78, so it's getting up there in age too. And it looks pretty much new. And there's a look at our Brazilian rosewood bridge there with the bone saddle and ebony bridge pins. It's in nice shape. And nothing to mention on the sides. There's no marks, no dings that I could see. If they are, they're very small, superficial, and not easy to spot. And there's a look at our heel join there. Again, looks nice and stable, nothing lifting. And our Dion symbol right there. And our back here. In the light, if you really shine it in a couple spots, you can see a little bit of dimples and impressions on the back. But nothing through the finish, and nothing really major. You can only see it in certain lighting situations. And yeah, nice grain of the mahogany. And there is our more herringbone. And the Dion logo. And then yeah, the neck has a couple little dimples. There's one there you can see. But again, nothing through the finish. But there are a couple spots you can feel on the neck. And our Schaller replaced machine heads. And I really love that little volute there. Alright, I want to check out the inside with an endoscope. You can see what's going on in there. Alright, having a look in the sound hole, we can see our Yamaki logo. Let me just turn the camera around so we can read it better. And the wires are our K&K Pure Mini pickup system. So yeah, there's our Yamaki branded logo there. You can have a look at the heel join, or the heel block, some bracing. And yeah, you can tell that the back and sides are solid wood because you can actually see the grain from both sides. It's a little trick if you're trying to figure out if you have a solid wood or a laminate. And there's the AY40D model with the serial number. Looks really clean on the inside. All the kerfing, not a lot of glue squeezed out anywhere. All of our bracing looks really nice. You can see our bridge plate there. I'm going to try to go in with an angle to see the top a little bit better. Yeah, there's our K&K Mini Pure system. Really nice pickup. I highly recommend it. More of our bracing. And yeah, just very nice and clean on the inside. Everything looks great. Alright, so yeah, everything looks good. Alright, got a nice setup on this guitar. It's pretty much how I got it. I tightened the truss rod a tiny bit. So yeah, you can see with the not straight edge, there's just a tiny little bit of relief in the neck. That's that little spot showing between. So that means the truss rod's set fairly tight. Here in the 3rd fret, you can see that when I use the 3rd fret, that the string is resting almost on that 1st fret. So that tells us that the truss rod is set tight, the action's really nice here in the neck, and our nut is cut perfectly for this. And at the 12th fret, you can see our action is quite low, so we're sitting at just about a little over a 1.5 at the 12th low E, and just about a 1.25 on the high E. So yeah, that is very low for an acoustic guitar, and we still have some room on the saddle as well to go down even further, although I don't know why you'd want to. And our bridge is nice and secure. There's no pulling up at all, and there's no belly pull up on this guitar. Sometimes what happens over the years is that the bridge, where the bridge is attached to the wood, starts to pull up, and you get kind of a hump, like a belly here. And I usually don't see that on Yamaki, so yeah, that's nice. Alright, I'm just going to go through the fingerboard, make sure there's no buzzing or fretting out anywhere. I like to speed up this part, but if you want to hear it in real time, just slow down the player to 25%. Alright, so the only note I found that was a little bit buzzy was way up here on the E. But I mean, not enough really to worry about. Alright, so let's go ahead and see how this thing sounds. I'm going to set it up with a nice SM57 microphone about 3 inches away from the sound hole. And then I'll be using a Audio Technica condenser mic for the room. And we can get a really good idea of how this thing would sound. Alright, final thoughts on the Yamaki 1978 Y40D. Well, it's like a lot of the other Yamakis I've played over the years. It's a fantastic guitar. Solid wood, super great tone and projection, nice and resonant, and just premium high quality specs and craftsmanship. This would make a Martin blush for sure. Yeah, that's why everyone should be looking for a Yamaki, because right now you can get them for not a whole lot of money, although collectors and people are starting to catch on, so the prices are going up a little bit. But to get, you know, a Martin quality solid wood guitar from the 70s for under, you know, $3,000, usually under $2,000. Sometimes you can find these that are $1,000 depending on the model. Is a great price for an outstanding guitar. And just all sorts of fancy appointments on this guitar. That cool neck volute, the really cool triangle wood inlays, the Brazilian rosewood fingerboard, the Brazilian rosewood bridge, the really nice grained mahogany on the back and the neck, the herringbone all around the body, the herringbone rosette, the really cool pickguard. I really like the neck profile. That soft V really fits the hand well. And bone nut. And this one is in really nice condition. Again, a couple small marks here and there. One little, looks like a filled gloss crack in the top. And replace tuners, but to be fair, the Yamaki tuners are really bad usually, and I really like these German-made Schallers. So, yeah, and this one has the K&K pickup installed. I didn't demo it because I don't have any batteries in my preamp right now, but you can search on YouTube for those preamps. It's a great little preamp. It sounds good on this guitar. And I've already got my Yamaki, so this one will be available on the Reverb. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you for tuning in to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.